First of all, there are many statements which have the appearance of incivility, but are factually accurate. My very close friend and comrade, I like that word still, Alan Nairn, a brilliant investigative reporter, he was on Charlie Rose one night with Elliot Abrams. And he said to Elliot Abrams that you're a war criminal. And you deserve to be charged under Nuremberg statutes. He was referring to Elliot Abrams's presiding over the mass slaughters in Central America in the 1980s and the genocide in Guatemala. Now, that's a factual statement, whether or not under the Nuremberg statutes you would be guilty of war crimes. That is not an ad hominem. If Milosevic had said at his trial that I oppose ad hominems because you're calling me a war criminal, he would be laughed out of court. Well, he wouldn't get out of court. But that's not an ad hominem attack, and that's not uncivil. It's a factual question. Similarly, if I were to call a professor a plagiarist, a falsifier of documents, a hoaxer, these words are not ad hominem. They define academic crimes and misdemeanors which can be proven true or false. Then there's the category of statements which are uncivil, but the circumstances, in my view, warrant incivility. So, for example, I remember quite vividly during the 1980s, Professor Chomsky wrote a book called Turning the Tide on the U.S. wars in Central America. And the line which every person who read that book remembers, they don't remember all the footnotes and all the facts, but everyone remembers the line when Professor Chomsky called Jeane Kirkpatrick, she was the UN representative at the time for the Reagan administration, the chief sadist in residence of the Reagan administration. Well, that was considered very uncivil. But my own experience has been that young people in particular, like myself, who was first reading works by Professor Chomsky, they yearn for persons in authority to speak the unvarnished truth and give expression to the moral indignation warranted by the occasion. There are moments that require breaking out of the constraints of polite discourse to sound the alarm that innocent people are being butchered while we speak due to the actions of our government. Now, these sorts of incivility shouldn't be a substitute for truth. And I don't think anyone would accuse Professor Chomsky of failing to argue his case or footnote it. But such a cry of the heart, a cri de coeur, is also within, in my opinion, the bounds of civil discourse.